May I proceed?
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the Court, Your Honor, Counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. At this point in the trial, you have heard all of the facts and you have seen all of the evidence. You have heard that on April 16th, 2015, the defendant, Miss Bancroft, bribed Chase Covington into giving her a license for a second casino. Now, whether or not Miss Bancroft bribed Chase Covington is not what is in question today. What is in question today is whether or not Miss Bancroft was entrapped into doing so. As a member of the prosecution in this case, it is my job to prove to you, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Miss Bancroft bribed Chase Covington without entrapment. Now, it is the job of the defense in this case to prove to you, by a preponderance of the evidence, that Miss Bancroft was entrapped. Now, a preponderance of the evidence means, as defense counsel previously stated, 50% plus a feather. So if they have convinced you just over 50% that Miss Bancroft was entrapped, then you would find her not guilty of bribery by reason of entrapment. However, if you believe, like me, that the prosecution has fulfilled our burden of proof, then you would find the defendant guilty of bribery. So let's look at what entrapment means. Entrapment is saying that this defendant, Miss Bancroft, was induced and not predisposed to committing this crime. I believe that the prosecution has proved to you today that Miss Bancroft was predisposed. So let's go through the timeline and let's look at the events. You heard testimony about a meeting that took place on March 31st in room 312 of the Black Bear Casino. At this meeting, Miss Bancroft said that she was willing to do whatever it takes so that she could get the second casino license. At this meeting, Miss Bancroft said that she would make Chase Covington happy. At this meeting, she said she wants to pitch her ideas to Chase, if you know what I mean. And before leaving this meeting, she said, "Thank you for greasing the wheels." Now, one of the witnesses that you heard from today was Danny Hoy. He is the head of security at the Black Bear. Now, Miss Bancroft, without any help from Mr. Keenan, on her own drive, desire, and determination, emailed Mr. Daniel Hoy and said that discretion is of the utmost importance. She said that it is essential that what is talked about is not on tape, and she asked him to sweep the room and pat everyone down. Miss Bancroft herself testified today that she made these arrangements in case a bribe was going to take place. She had in her mind, going to that meeting, that a bribe would take place. Now, a few days later, on April 15th, Miss Bancroft replied to an email from Chase Covington and said, "Do we really need Keenan for this?" When talking about the reason that we are here today, she says, "Do we really need Keenan for this?" Now, she emailed Chase Covington later that day with the same idea and said, she emailed Corey Hyde and said, "Are you sure you're okay with Keenan coming?" Someone who seems so bent on having this government agent here wasn't even sure if she wanted him to come. Now, you heard testimony from Corey Hyde, who the defendant has worked with for a long time. And Corey Hyde said that Bancroft was playing dumb through the meeting on March 31st, 2015. That Bancroft was just smiling along when the bribe was talked about. Additionally, Corey Hyde testified that Bancroft said she would see what she could do about getting $250,000 reasons to Covington. Now, you heard from two expert witnesses today. You heard from Dr. Warren, who was presented by the prosecution, and he said that Miss Bancroft showed no reluctance to the plan discussed in the March 31st transcript. Mr. Warren has years of experience, and he sat before you today and said that he cannot say with any degree of professional certainty that Miss Bancroft was entrapped. Additionally, you heard from Dr. Lorian, the defense's own witness, who said that she cannot definitively prove that entrapment occurred. Now, as the defense tries to convince you of Miss Bancroft's innocence and that Miss Bancroft was entrapped, listen very carefully to the facts that prove that she committed this bribery at her own drive, desire, and determination. Thank you.
Closing argument from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. I approach and retrieve previously admitted evidence, specifically the jury instructions.
You mean that were tendered?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Jaleesa Harris for the defense. May I proceed?
You may.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury. Her hand was forced. Today, you learned about the events leading up to a vote on April 17th, 2015. You heard of the casino owner, Avery Bancroft. She put in a proposal to obtain her second license to own a second casino in Midlands. You heard that she stayed up for months making this proposal so she can further her career. Members of the jury, she made a proposal, but then she got shot down. Today you heard that she met up with Chase Covington and Mickey Keenan. Mickey Keenan first reviewed her proposal. He told her it wasn't good enough. In the transcript in front of you, you will see that she was talking about her proposal, and it was Mickey Keenan that said, well, what are you willing to do? So she brought up more conference rooms. That's not good enough. You know what I mean. What more are you willing to do? Well, I can tweak my proposal a little bit. That's not how things work in Midlands. You need more than a good business plan if you want your proposal to go through. Those are the words of undercover cop Mickey Keenan. Members of the jury, today the defense, they raised an affirmative defense. We had to prove to you by our preponderance of the evidence, simply meaning 50% in a feather's weight, that Miss Bancroft did not make this bribe of her own free will, that she was induced by Mickey Keenan and Corey Hyde to make this bribe. And that's exactly what we have proven to you today. Today, the prosecution's witness, Corey Hyde, he took the stand before you today. And he talked about a lot of meetings that he set up between Miss Bancroft, Chase Covington, and Mickey Keenan. In that meeting on April 13, 2015, he told you exactly what happened. They were sitting down, and Bancroft and Mickey Keenan slid a napkin to Bancroft. Bancroft was reluctant. She didn't do anything with that napkin. Then Mickey Keenan, he slid another one to her. He told her, it's all about the money. It was only after he said those statements that Miss Bancroft then wrote down, yes equals $250,000. Now, you may be wondering why this is important. But if you look in the jury instructions under a predisposition, as the judge will instruct you later, it says that if a government agent is the first one to bring up this bribe, that's another predisposition, that Mickey Keenan was the one who actually forced Bancroft to make this bribe. And that's exactly what we have proven to you today. In the transcript and in that meeting, Mickey Keenan was the one who brought up a bribe first. Now, the state, they also called before you an expert, a linguist. He said that he looked over emails and transcripts, and on cross-examination, when he said that undercover cops are supposed to ask open-ended questions. They're not supposed to make statements. But members of the jury, that whole entire transcript was statements. You need to do more. You need to pitch more than ideas. You're not going to get this deal to go through unless you are willing to go above and beyond. Those are Mickey Keenan's words. It was only after hearing these statements that my client, Avery Bancroft, decided that she had to make a bribe. But Mickey Keenan wasn't the only one. Because you heard today when Avery Bancroft took the stand, she told you, I was in awe by all these statements. So I went to Chase Covington myself. Chase Covington, in that meeting, sat there and said, I'm going to need 250,000 reasons to vote for you. Members of the jury, she was induced by the police, by Chase Covington, to make this bribe. Her hand was forced. Thank you.
Anything further from the prosecution?
Yes, Your Honor. May I use my remaining time for rebuttal?
Yes.
When defense counsel came up here, she pointed out that after Ms. Bancroft heard statements made by Mickey Keenan, she decided that she had to make a bribe. Now, in the state of Midlands, it is not sufficient for entrapment to be based off of a law enforcement officer giving opportunities, means, or facilities for a bribe, thus meaning that merely suggestions are not enough. Now, you heard testimony from Dr. Warren that Keenan and Hyde use best police practices, that they can only hope the rest of undercover operations will follow through with those steps. Now, Dr. Warren told you today that he cannot conclude with any degree of professional certainty that entrapment occurred. I believe that the prosecution has proved to you today that Ms. Bancroft committed this bribe by her own drive, determination, and desire. She would have committed that bribe with or without ever meeting Mickey Keenan in the first place. And we ask that you would find her guilty of bribery. Thank you.
Just give us 1 minute to finish up.